I have more things to say. This is exciting. Quick bit of admin. I rejigged the tier list a bit. I got rid of some categories. Mediocre wasn't really doing a whole lot, so I just zhuzhed it in with subpar. I also got rid of, I have too much respect for my mental health to not to watch these episodes, which was a case of bad timing because I then immediately had another one to put in there. But I also uncompressed all the lists so we can see more of what's going on. I also added some counts. So as we can see, in my opinion, most Doctor Who episodes are okay. And then second most popular is top tier, and then third is terrible, which does sort of track. I've also done a quick count of how many in each category are from which series, and a quick series ranking at the bottom. So I have watched Amy's Choice and Hungry Earth. Now, Amy's Choice, I think, is an episode that I didn't really remember much about. I remember liking it. We'll get there. So, in this episode, Amy is obviously pregnant. Rory has a ponytail, and they're living in Ledgeworth. We don't know what's happened in the meantime, but this series has done time skips before. Very cool. The Doctor shows up. He immediately breaks their rockery, which is fantastic. The Doctor really doesn't understand why Amy would want to be pregnant. Same. The Doctor is affectionate to Amy, not particularly affectionate to Rory, which continues on this series' thing of being kind of shitty to Rory. And unlike how series 1 of Doctor Who, and kind of other series as well, was just unbelievably shitty to Mickey, unlike that, this series is actually going something with it. So they then are strolling through Ledgeworth. Now, this is one of the first particularly interesting bits. Sometimes people who have an axe to grind about Stephen Moffat talk about how everyone fancies the Doctor. The Doctor's always both the Doctor and Rory fancy Amy, it's a love triangle, because it's all wish fulfillment and Moffat just wants to bang all the women he writes. That's not what's happening, obviously, but this is a particularly interesting symbol, because if this was a love triangle, then the symbolism here would mean Amy should be in the middle. Doctor's on the left, Amy's in the middle, Rory's on the right. Amy is being torn in two directions between the two boys, right? But that's not what's happening. What is happening visually here is the Doctor is getting in between Amy and Rory. Right? Amy has her two lives. Amy has her domestic life back home on Earth with Rory, and she has the adventuring life with the Doctor. And currently, this changes, but currently at this point in the series, Amy doesn't really know what she wants. She doesn't know if she wants to be at home domestically or out having adventures. And so there is this symbol of the Doctor's life having intruded onto Amy's life, and that's messed things up a bit. Now, as the series will go on, this resolves by Amy finding the balance, medium between the two, and this also is catalysed by the fact that Rory starts changing and adapting to new circumstances. Good for you, mate. So Amy no longer needs to make a choice between the domestic life and the adventurous life. She finds the medium. But at this point in the series, this is very much what's happening. And it's what this episode is about, essentially, which is, does Amy want this or this? I really like this shot. It's a really good shot. We call it visualization of a metaphor. I say we. I got taught that in drama class 25 years ago. Middle age, baby. Right. They then wake up in the TARDIS. The Doctor is extremely relieved. It's going, oh, thank God, I was having this horrible nightmare. the 11th Doctor's really interesting because on the one hand you have that amazing Christmas special with that really iconic line, you know, I've lived for 10,000 years or how long Doctor's been alive, and I've never met anyone who wasn't important. You've got that line, and you've got the fact that the Doctor was so bored by Ledgeworth that he considers what he's just been through a nightmare. And both those things can be true, and I find that interesting. So yeah, at this point they're establishing that they all had the same dream, like the Doctor just looked for Rory's ponytail. It's really good. So like, we are 5 minutes into the episode. We have essentially set up the mystery. And it's gutsy to start with a relatively slow domestic scene. So like, the first transition to being back on the TARDIS happens at 3 minutes and 30 seconds in. So we haven't even had a title sequence yet. 3 minutes and 30 seconds just on like domestic life in Ledgeworth. And that is real commitment to the characters that I appreciate. Second transition at 5 minutes. The TARDIS one was 1 minute 30. That's cool. That's a good amount of time. Anyway, so yeah. So like, it's commitment to the characters to spend the first 3.5 minutes on this domestic life in Ledgeworth. And it's relying on the fact that a lot has changed, like Amy's pregnancy and Rory's ponytail, lol, to like get the audience to come along with it. Because if it was just 3 minutes and 30 seconds of nothing happening, people would get bored and switch off, justifiably. But at this point, the characters have gone on many space adventures, most of which have been very good and fairly traumatizing. And so it is interesting to slow down this much. Doctor Who, especially under Series 5, especially under Stephen Moffat, really tends to come out of the gate really fucking strong. So it is an interesting change of pace to do this. And I think that's one of the reasons it works so well. But it's also really important thematically for them to start in this fairly slow way to demonstrate what life for Pons in this dream is actually like, because, you know, spoiler warning, it's a dream. So like, Amy is at home cooking with the bat and she's pregnant, and Rory is out doing his doctor stuff, which I love that Rory dreams of being a doctor. I love Rory so much. It's not a coincidence, right, that Rory is a nurse and like dreams of being a doctor, like, because Rory is intensely threatened by the Doctor. Anyway, so they then wake back up in Ledgeworth, and they're going. I thought we were in a dream and then we woke up, and then I thought that again. So like, wait, when we were on the TARDIS, I thought Ledgeworth was a dream, and now we're back in Ledgeworth. I think being in the TARDIS is a dream. And my doctor's like, oh, this is going to be a tricky one because both feel real. And then we get the title sequence, and that's a hell of a cold open, right? Because nothing's happened. All that's happened is they've fallen asleep twice and woken up twice, right? But it's still an incredibly engaging thing. It's so unusual. It gets the audience to ask a lot of questions. Primarily, what the fuck is going on? And what the fuck is going on is a really compelling setup for a mystery, obviously, and you really need to be able to follow it up with answers, which is, I think, why it works quite so well at episode 7. We're in episode 7 of Series 5, because at this point, Series 5 has had a fair few mysteries. The Weeping Angel episodes, I think, were particularly good for this, because why is Amy counting? How can the angels do all this? What is going on with River Song, etc., etc.? All those things were asked and answered in the Weeping Angel episodes. Let me see. Beast Below asked and answered all its questions. Victory of the Daleks, less so, but kind of well. And yeah, Vampires of Venice answered all its questions. So at this point in the series, Series 5 has established that it is comfortable posing questions and giving the audience faith that it will answer them. So I feel that is like... At some point, I want to go through Doctor Who's cold opens from Series 1 and go, this works, this doesn't. That's a bit of a mammoth project that I'm not going to lie, I probably won't ever get to. But cold opens like this make me want to do that, because it's if you take 5 or 6 steps back and look at it really from a distance, try to look at it objectively, there's nothing particularly amazing about it. You can't point to this and go, you see that thing they did there, that changed television forever with how good it was. But what it is incredibly solid, skillful writing. And I think writing like this is really undervalued. When you say writing is solid, it kind of can sound like it's damning with faint praise a bit. And I think I've been guilty of doing that a few times. But there is really something to be said for knowing exactly what you want to do and pulling it off. Not effortlessly, because this clearly took a lot of work in terms of writing, but really skillfully, with real commitment to the bit, and with commitment to doing things as well as possible. It's not like... Because Simon Nye, who wrote this, never wrote for Doctor Who again. He wrote this one episode and that's it. And that's a real fucking shame, because he's clearly very, very good at his job. But Simon appears like... The impression I get from watching this episode is that this guy was pulling his fucking A game. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe everything else he's written is amazing and this is like him on an off day, in which case, holy shit, where have you been my whole life, Simon? Yeah, it really sounds like I'm just sort of fawning over this episode, and I kind of am. But I think watching this much Doctor Who in this short a space of time means that I am very, very receptive to simple premises done well, as opposed to overly complex premises that immediately fall apart. Doctor Who is a show, as it's always had this problem, apart from in Pertwee's era a bit, it's always had this problem where you're having to come up with new concepts all the time. And so it can be tempting to rely on the strength of the concept and not worry too much about what else is going on. And I sort of lost track of what I was going with that. This is really good. Amy's choice? Okay. So at this point they're going, hey, what the fuck's going on?
Hey! Pregnant.
And you could be giving birth right now. This could be the...
No. So, okay? No, this is real.
Another thing that's quite interesting about this episode is how the relationship between the Doctor and Amy shifts. So in some discourse, people talk about how Amy doesn't have any agency, and talk about how she's far too into the Doctor, right? And in this episode particularly, the Doctor gets called out quite a lot. In fact, the entire episode is kind of the Doctor being called out.
Well, I'm definitely awake.
Yeah, and you thought you were definitely awake when you were all elephanty.
Hey! Pregnant.
And you could be...
Now, that is an interesting line, because on the one hand, it's just a little bit of pushback. It's a really tiny amount of pushback. The Doctor doesn't change his behaviour. He doesn't apologise. But on the other hand, so as a line, as a piece of writing, it's kind of nothing. Karen Gillan puts weight behind that line, and it fucking works. TARDIS dies. Okay, so yeah, they go around Ledgeworth, they introduce the old people who are going to turn into alien monsters later. And we then wake back up in the TARDIS and we meet the Dream Lord.
Mrs. Poggett, she's so... lovely, though.
I wouldn't believe how nice old lady act if I were you.
What do you mean, act?
Everything's off. Sensors call powered drifting. The scanner's down, so we can't even see out. We could be anywhere. Something is overriding my controls.
Well, that took a while. Honestly, I'd heard such good things. Last of the Time Lords, the oncoming storm, him in the bow tie.
How did you get into my TARDIS? What are you?
What should we call me? Well, if you're the Time Lord, let's call me the Dream Lord.
Nice look.
This? No, I'm not convinced. Bow ties?
Interesting.
I'd love to be impressed, but Dream Lord, it's in the name, isn't it? Spooky, not quite there. And yet very much here.
I'll do the talking, thank you. Amy, want to take a guess at what that is?
Dream Lord, he creates dreams.
Dreams, delusions, cheap tricks.
And what about the gooseberry here? Does he get a guess?
Listen, mate, if anyone's the gooseberry round here, it's the Doctor.
Oh, well, there's a delusion I'm not responsible for.
No, he is. Isn't he, Amy?
Oh, Amy, you'd have to sort your...
Again, look at how this shit's framed. Doctor and Amy standing close, Rory standing a little further away. I love with this episode, because the big twist. There are multiple big twists in this episode, but one of the big twists is who the Dream Lord is. And just, the show keeps telling you who the Dream Lord is. Like, the Dream Lord is dressed like the Doctor. And yes, it's cloaked in the Dream Lord is, like, intentionally mocking the Doctor. But he is also dressed exactly like the Doctor. And he is also acting kind of like the Doctor. We've got a clip for that later. But where was the particular shot that I liked? This shot. So this shot is a companion to the one we were just looking at, the two shot. It's like, look at the space in between Amy and Rory, and look at the space in between Amy and the Doctor.
Just you, stupid.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
thanks. If anyone's the gooseberry round here, it's the Doctor.
Oh, well, there's a delusion I'm not responsible for.
No, he is. Isn't he, Amy?
Oh, Amy, you'd have to sort your men out. Choose, even.
I have chosen. Of course. I've chosen.
Just you, stupid.
Good, thanks.
Okay. And that is crucial. Because other than one little wobble at the end of Flesh and Stone, Amy loves Rory. And bless him, Rory doesn't quite get it. We've all been there, mate. But Amy knows him to the point where, without even looking, she knows what his reaction is. She knows where he's standing to the point where she can go, like, bash him like that. It's you, stupid. Like, the show is telling us all the time how the characters are thinking and feeling, partly through shots and partly through reactions. It's very good.
You can't fool me. I've seen your dreams. Some of them twice, Amy. Blimey, I'd blush if I had a blood supply. Or a real face.
Where did you pick up this cheap cabaret act?
Me? Oh, you're on shaky ground.
Am I?
If you had any more tawdry quirks, you could open up a tawdry quirk shop. The madcap vehicle, the cockamamie hair, the clothes designed by a first-year fashion student. I'm surprised you haven't got a little purple space dog, just to ram home what an intergalactic wag you are.
The Doctor is saying all that to himself. It's heartbreaking.
Where was I?
You were...
I know where I was.
I love that Rory tries to be helpful. Rory, honey. He's trapped you in multiple dreams, mate. You don't know that at this point, anyway.
So here's your challenge. 2 worlds. Here, in the time machine, and there, in the village that time forgot. One is real, the other's fake. And just to make it more interesting, you're going to face, in both worlds, a deadly danger, but only one of the dangers is real. Tweet, tweet. Time to sleep. Oh. Or are you waking up?
Okay. So, at 12 minutes and 41 seconds, we've had what is supposed to be our setup. So, if we are looking at this from a strict 3-act structure viewpoint, which we probably shouldn't, because the 3-act structure is a whole thing that I don't want to get into. But, like, if we were looking at it like that, this would be our first act break. So we're moving into Act 2. So, we as the audience now think we know what's going on, because the villain has told the characters what is supposed to be going on. And we currently don't really have a reason to disbelieve him. And this is such a good fucking move. It's a good fucking move, at least partly, because in Doctor Who, villains are very chatty. Even the Daleks became extremely stoppable chatting machines for a few points in their history. So having a villain calmly and slowly explain what his plan is not unusual. So it doesn't strike the audience as odd that the villain has explained precisely what's happening and what they need to do in order to, sort it out. So we as an audience aren't necessarily looking for a twist, right? It's very cool. Okay, so we're going to skip forward a bit because, we've all got shit to do. The stuff I have said over the course of this episode continues to be true. Like, the relationships between Amy, Rory and the Doctor continue to be extremely complex. There is a moment at some point where people keep asking the Doctor questions, and the Doctor has a bit of a moment where he goes, I don't know, why does everyone think I always know everything? Which is interesting based on the Doctor's whole thing. The evil old people start, going around and attacking people. Well, here they've killed a load of children, which is, dark. But again, at this point, there hasn't been a physical threat. Here is where, bang on halfway, the physical threat starts cropping up, which is structurally a little bit late. But at this point, up until this point, has really been relying on the mystery. And I think having this physical threat is really quite smart, coming in about halfway through, because it means if people's interest in the mystery is waning, then a physical threat has risen to fill some of those gaps. This effect is interesting. It's uncanny. It doesn't look amazing, but it kind of works, and we'll sort of get to that later. So they meet a bicycle courier or postal worker. I think he's Royal Mail. He gets zapped. He gets turned into dust, thereby establishing what happens if one of those things hits you. Tick.
We don't see him for years, and somehow we don't really connect anymore. And then he takes the bullet for us.
Hey, he'll be fine. You know the Doctor. He's Mr. Cool.
The Doctor is trust. When our souls say the Doctor is too important, too special, too powerful, I am fascinated as to how they square that with moments like that. I love that moment. And again, we have how Rory sees the Doctor, he's Mr. Cool. And we have how the Doctor actually is. It's He turns the sign on the door so it says closed. Honey, that's not going to help. It's very funny. And he also has to check that that's what he's done.
Love a good butcher's, don't you? We've got to use these places or they'll shut down. Oh, but You're probably a vegetarian, aren't you, you big flop-haired wuss?
Oh, pipe down, I'm busy.
Maybe you need...
Sorry, I can't stop for all of these, like, because genuinely, if I watch this episode through, it just be going, see this, that's really good, see this, that's really good. But again, all of this, like, it works so well that the Dream Lord is just the dark side of the Doctor, because the Dream Lord is observational, he is aware, and he is cruel in the way the Doctor is and has been multiple times throughout this series. But he's also really snarky and pointed, and it's very cool.
Little sleep.
Anyway, so, like, there's some stuff. Amy gets made so that Amy is stuck in the TARDIS, the freezing TARDIS universe, and the Doctor and Rory are in Ledgeworth. Oh, before that, actually, the tension between Rory and the Doctor comes to a head.
But sofas can read. It's a big universe. We have to agree which battle to lose. All of us. Now.
Okay, which world do you think is real?
This one. No, the other one. Yeah, but are we disagreeing or competing?
Competing over what?
9 minutes till impact.
What temperature is it?
Now, it's very tempting to think that the Doctor and Rory competing over Amy means they are both romantically interested in her. And it's really important to remember that that's not what they said. And it's really important to remember that assuming that the Doctor and Rory are both competing over her romantically, that is heteronormativity. That is assuming that because both Rory and the Doctor have a very intense relationship with Amy, that means they both want to do a sex on her. And that's not true. The competing side is like, who is Amy going to choose to be? Is she going to choose to settle in Ledgeworth and live a domestic life with Rory, or is she going to go off on space adventures with the Doctor? And you will notice that is an extremely false premise. Amy is more than capable of doing both things, and she does later on in the series, and, you know, this is the point. But because of the way society is, like, set up and has been for a while in the West, when we have lines like that, and because a lot of media is kind of shitty and heteronormative, and go, there are two men here, there is one woman here, therefore they're both trying to fuck the woman. It's very easy to slip into the old patterns and going like, oh, other media would be making this a love triangle, therefore that is what's happening here. No, that is very specifically not what's happening here. It is a misreading of the text to think that is what's happening here. What is happening here is about life choices, what Amy wants from her life. That is the tension here. That's the question. It's not who Amy is going to do a sex on. So yeah, that's really important. That's like a crucial scene in the show. So yeah, then they get separated. Rory is looking after Amy in the place in Ledgeworth. Rory has taken a few steps into being more of an Action Jackson. Did a bit of sword fight in Vampires of Venice. He like punched an old woman. Good for you, mate. And now he's like focusing on the domestic, the baby, the future. The baby, that's a really good point. Okay, so in Asylum of the Daleks, Series 7, Episode 1, we've had some development. I rewatched it recently. We've had some development and, like, some stuff happens. And there's a chat that Amy and Rory has where Amy says, you want kids, you've always had kids. You've always wanted kids ever since you were a kid. And I said to my buddy, Laura, wouldn't it have been nice if that had come up before? Because I thought it hadn't. Turns out it has. That's what this episode is about. Rory really fucking wants a kid. Like, every time I think that something hasn't been seeded properly in Moffat's Doctor Who, like, turns out, more often than not, that it has been. Anyway, the Doctor's trying to get back to the ponds. Oh, this is so good. So, the Doctor knows that one of the 2 universities he's in, Ledgeworth and Batardus, he knows one of those is a dream. He might have worked out... Oh no, he hasn't yet worked out that both of them are dream. But he knows that there is a really decent chance that the people he is currently rescuing are just dream people. They don't matter. The only people that currently matter are Amy and Rory. And yet, he still takes the time to fucking rescue people, along with these other guys. Like, you'll note that the Doctor, when they rescued those first people, the Doctor wasn't the one to stick his hand out of the van and go, "Come with me if you want to live. Run. Let's all run off into the future and be amazing and have adventures," right? The Doctor was driving, and the guy who had the side door of the van open was the one who was like, "Come in here. It's very cool." So yeah, they spend these crucial... How long is it? Let me see. 29 minutes to about... Yeah, it's only about a minute. And the Doctor needed the van anyway. He needed to get to Amy and Rory anyway. So the van scene doesn't really matter. But I absolutely love they took the time to spend a minute just working on that, just having the Doctor just rescue some people.
Never apologises.
He doesn't have to.
That's good. Because he never will. And now he's left you with me. Spooky old not-to-be-trusted me. Anything could happen.
Who are you? And what do you want? The Doctor knows you, but he's not telling me who you are. And
Karen Gillan is very good at her job. Anything could happen is such a, like, shitty move from the Dream Lord, like, really obviously. And it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Unless you know that the Dream Lord is the Doctor, because the Dream Lord knows that Amy fancies the Doctor. And so he's playing on that. But you look at Amy in that section, and the Dream Lord does this power play, this extremely sexual assaulty power play, right? And Amy, like, is rocked by that. She's silent for a moment, and then she, like, pushes past it and cuts through the power play to the point that the Dream Lord really doesn't want to talk about.
he always does. Takes him a while sometimes, but he tells me. So you're something different.
Oh, is that who you think you are? The one he trusts?
Actually, yes.
The only girl in the universe to whom the Doctor tells everything.
Yes.
So what's his name? Now, which one of these men would you really choose? Look at them. He ran away with a handsome hero. Would you really give him up for a bumbling country doctor who thinks the only thing he needs to be interesting is a ponytail?
Stop it.
But maybe it's better than loving and losing the Doctor. Pick a world, and this nightmare will all be over.
You'll note that she put the poncho over Rory and didn't touch the Doctor. Okay. So there's a lot going on in that scene, and I've kind of forgotten a decent half of it already, just because I get swept along by that scene. What was going on? Yes, so, like, there is discourse about, like, how Amy doesn't have a whole lot of agency in that. That discourse is bullshit, but, like, it's also discourse that speech is very specifically engaging with, like, the Doctor, because the Dream Lord is the dark side of the Doctor. The Doctor is telling Amy that she can't completely trust him because he keeps secrets. And that's neat. Like, it is engaging with the fact that the Doctor doesn't often behave super shittily, and the Doctor believes he has reasons for stuff he's doing. But the Doctor has secrets, and he's not keeping the secrets because he's cool and he's dark and he's moody and brooding. although those things are all true. He's keeping the secret for a bunch of reasons, including pain. And breaking through that pain is very, 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 very difficult. Very, very few people can actually do it. But also, it gets to the heart of a few important issues, one of which is, does the name matter? Like, can you really trust the Doctor if he doesn't tell you his name? That's not a question with an answer. I just think it's an interesting question.
Everybody out!
So,
Into the church!
they evacuate the people they rescued. They take the time to do that, and then they move on. They very much didn't need to do any of this. Like, they could have just cut from the Doctor leaving in the car to this scene now. It's so good. Okay. So then, skipping through some of this, Amy and Rory have woken back up. Rory cuts his ponytail off, symbolising, like, his commitment to the life that Amy wants. Rory is really consistently self-sacrificial and, like, emotionally open and receptive to, like, making changes if that is what is best for those around him, which is nice. Anyway.
Look after our baby.
I couldn't talk there for a moment because I wanted to cry. Look after our baby is such an amazing set of last words. That is the thought that is in Rory's head when he's dying. Like, it's not, don't fuck the Doctor, please. It's like, he's just worried, but he is also, it is not a truly selfless thing to say. It really, like, demonstrates the scale of worry that Rory has about Amy and what she's choosing to do. Like, Rory is worried that Amy is going to get herself and the baby killed. Because, of course, Amy's going to look after her baby, because it's her baby, and that's what mothers are supposed to do, right? So the fact that Rory feels the need to say that is quite telling on that side. On the other side, Rory is completely focused on Amy, the baby, and the life they were supposed to have. And Rory, let's not forget, Rory absolutely loves this life, right? This is the life that Rory truly wants. And he believes it is, like, the best life. And he still wants that for Amy and baby, right? He doesn't say, I don't want to die. He doesn't say, don't fuck the Doctor. He doesn't say, remember to pick up milk. Like, Rory is focused on other people to a fault. Because, yes, he wants what's best for Amy and the baby, basically at the expense of everything else. And, like, he's a nurse, and he dreams of being a doctor because he wants to look after other people. And he is doing a pretty decent job of that. Like at the very first episode, he is working as a nurse and doing a good job. And the first time we see him, we see he has spotted a problem that no one else has spotted. He spotted that the coma patients are around Ledgeworth, right? But also, Rory's focus on other people is a little bit toxic. He's not looking after himself, and he's telling Amy, look after our baby, a thing he does not need to say, because of course she's going to. Like, he's going, don't look after our baby, don't just fucking leave it with someone and go off with the Doctor, right? So in some ways, it's a shitty thing to say. It tells us so much about Rory, and it's heartbreaking.
No.
Karen Gillan and Matt Smith's performances here are so good. Neither of them know what to do.
Save him. You save everyone. You always do. It's what you do.
Not always. I'm sorry.
Then what is the point of you? This is a dream. Definitely this one. If we die here, we wake up, yeah?
Unless we just die.
Either way, this is my only chance of seeing him again. This is a dream.
How do you know?
Because if this is real life, I don't want it. I don't want it.
Please note, the Doctor said two things there. Unless we just die, reminding Amy of the stakes. How do you know? Asking Amy a question. He has not tried to overrule her. Amy is in grief and in pain. She is not thinking clearly. She is making a reaction. She is deciding that this is a dream arbitrarily because Rory just died. It would be entirely reasonable to shut Amy down and go, no, Amy, you need to actually think about this. But, crucially, we are 35 minutes into a 44 minutes episode. The Doctor has no plan. The Doctor has no idea which of these two is real. Because neither of them are. It's very clever. And so, Amy has made a choice. The Doctor doesn't have a reason currently to override it. He's not happy about it. Oh yeah, I forgot to say. that old lady, let's skip back a smidge. That old lady's like approaching the house with a mop. And earlier, that old lady back there has like her shopping trolley and is like approaching the house with the shopping trolley. And these people pose a perfectly good threat with just the alien and mouse. But that's not sufficient. They also have a mop and a shopping trolley. One of them had a lawnmower earlier that they were holding over her head. And it's a ridiculous image. It's a ridiculous image that in a straightforward episode of Doctor Who, I would be yelling about. Because, it's ridiculous. How can you expect these people to be threatening when they're waving mops and lawnmowers and shopping trolleys, right? But it works for a couple of reasons. One, they actually do pose a pretty serious threat. They just killed Rory and a postal worker. And a load of children, but we didn't see that. But also, because of the structure of the episode, the fact that it is kind of ridiculous really plays into the structure, because this might be a dream, or it might be a ridiculous threat. We don't know. And that tension, that lack of knowledge, that uncertainty makes it work. The fact that it is ridiculous makes it dreamlike, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not actually happening, because ridiculous stuff happens all the time. I think the Doctor said earlier, sofas can read, right? It's a big universe, any of this could actually be happening. And I think it's a moment that could only work in Doctor Who, because we've had plenty of ridiculous monsters in Doctor Who. So murderous old people waving lawnmowers and mops. It's a bit wacky, but it's not particularly, there's not much qualitative difference between that and a lot of other Doctor Who monsters. And so it's really remarkable how well it works. Because you've got this duality that it is ridiculous to have these old people who are really fucking murderous are going around doing a purge, basically murdering a lot of people, and they look like the least threatening people on the planet. They walk really slowly. She is holding a mop, and yet they just killed Rory, and we can't entirely dismiss them, because, what if it's real? And let's say you're not taken by any of that, but they still have the mystery to fall back on, which is, okay, this ridiculousness, this bullshit, how sure are we that means that this scene is a dream? It's a really interesting approach. It's taking some of the flaws that Doctor Who can fall into, ridiculous villains, and making a strength out of it. Oh, so good.
Why aren't they attacking?
Either because this is just a dream or because they know what we're about to do.
Be very sure this could be the real world.
It can't. Rory isn't here. I didn't know. I honestly didn't. Till right now. I just want him.
So, this is what really pisses me off about a lot of discourse about Amy. There are a few points that keep coming up. One is that Amy is constantly denied agency. This entire episode is about Amy's agency. Amy makes this choice to kill herself and the Doctor. The Doctor never tries to talk her out of it. He asks her to be sure. And he reminds her of the stakes, and he accepts her decision. He never even, he doesn't question her decision, even. He reminds her of the stakes and he asks her to be sure. He doesn't question it. He doesn't, let alone try to counteract it, let alone order her to not make this decision. They don't have a shouting match, and the Doctor backs down. Amy says, this is what we're going to do, and the Doctor goes with it. The second point about all of Moffat's women, but particularly Amy, is that Moffat only writes doms because he wants, attractive women to step on him. That's not what's happening here. Amy is making a decision based on her need for emotional connection. That's not Amy being dominating. That's Amy being emotionally open and emotionally honest and emotionally present. Can you imagine anything more separate from this idea that Amy is just walking around in leather with a whip stepping on people? And then they kill themselves, which is, I think, the one area where I think suicide has been used well in Doctor Who so far. They wake up.
Out of your imagination, so I'll leave you to ponder on that. I have been defeated. I shall withdraw. Farewell.
So they quote-unquote win 38 minutes in, which is a very smart time to have it happen, because if it had happened 5 minutes earlier, we would all know there's something else going on. But the Doctor earlier worked out who the Dream Lord is, because only one person in the world hates the Doctor as much as the Dream Lord hates him. So the Doctor loads up the TARDIS, because the Doctor has worked out that both dreams are fake. And this makes perfect sense, because both dreams were ridiculous. But because we were given this premise at the start, and we were given the premise, I think 12-ish minutes in, and nothing early on made us question that premise. Which means that, unless you're really paying attention, nothing will make that premise seem unreal, which means it roots itself in our understanding of what's happening. So the idea that both of them were dreams is extremely obvious in hindsight. Because, why would we accept what the Dream Lord said? He's a dick. Just because the villain tells you what his plan is, that doesn't mean they're telling the truth. It's a really deceptively simple twist, and you couldn't do it too many times because it would be really easy to see coming once you've done it a few times. But as a one-off, fuck me, it's amazing.
Attention.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
There it is.
Because what I don't get is, you blew up the TARDIS, that stopped that dream, but what stopped the Leavenworth dream?
We crashed the camper van.
Oh, right. I don't know that bit.
No, you weren't there. You were already
Already what?
dead. You died in that dream Mrs. Pocket got you.
Okay. But how do you know it was a dream? Before you crashed the van? How do you know you wouldn't just die?
I didn't.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And if we were just to refer to a point earlier, notice how close Amy and Rory are standing, notice how far apart Amy and the Doctor are standing. This might be the first time in the series we say Amy and Rory kiss. I don't know. I can't remember.
So,
And look how pleased the Doctor is. He's not threatened by this relationship. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants them to be happy.
Well then, where now? Or should I just pop down to the swimming pool for a few lengths?
I don't know. Anywhere's good for me. I'm happy anyway. It's up to Amy this time. Amy's choice.
Now that is an interesting line. I don't particularly like it. So you could say that it's up to Amy this time is like Amy being thrown a bone by the boys. But Rory has never made the choice on destination, at least what we've seen. And Rory has been on precisely 2 adventures, Vampires in Venice and Amy's Choice. So it's not that Rory is throwing Amy a bone as to the choice of destination. It is a line that is supposed to reinforce the theme of the episode, that Amy is the one in control on this TARDIS crew. But at the same time, it's up to Amy's choice. I think that line would work. It's up to Amy this time. That really undermines the point the line is trying to make. Which is a real shame. But it's like, 2 words can matter. Doesn't matter that much, it's just a bit of a shame. The Doctor is reminded of the darkness within him, and they leave. I've wondered a bit about this. I need to apparently lock my layers. I've wondered about this. Where does Amy's Choice live? It lives up here. It's not a truly amazing episode in some ways, but in terms of everything it's doing, in terms of its commitment to character, in terms of the real skill, in terms of pulling off a theme, a story, an episode, a mystery, and a sense of threat, it deserves to be in the top tier. Like, it doesn't have any flaws. My complaints are about 2 words. Oh, God. It's amazing. I was going to try and talk about Hungry Earth as well. It's down here. I was going to talk about that. But I've been recording for 50 minutes because I had so much to fucking say about this episode, so I'm going to wrap it there. I need to walk the dog. I had one extra thought. I really need to walk the dog, but I had one more thought. The Ledgeworth dream is Rory's fantasy, right? That's textual. So we don't know the freezing TARDIS. We don't know if that was Amy or the Doctor's dream. It could be Rory's, but I think it's reasonable to assume that it is either Amy or the Doctor's. And that is interesting, because Rory's dream was a domestic idyll that was then twisted to be, like, dangerous. But the TARDIS dream was dark, cold, and lonely. And it's interesting that either Amy or the Doctor would dream of the TARDIS as dark and cold and lonely.